It's a 50-year-old facility and it's very, very tired. We have a very elite herd and that attracts many people and interests many people, but our facilities don't really represent what we need. The opportunity to have something that really represents our dairy industry correctly and a facility where we can do a better job of training students. To me, that's just truly exciting. It'll give us the opportunity to continue to lead forward in a growing dairy industry in our state. The Kansas State University's Dairy Teaching and Research Center was dedicated in December of 1977, and it is home to K-State's elite Holstein herd. This unit hosts many classes and visitors each year. It serves as a training center for students from across the campus and is a primary teaching site for veterinary students learning about dairy cattle. Hundreds of applied and basic research projects have been conducted to improve dairy production in Kansas and around the world. Kansas has been recognized as a leader in dairy research in the areas of dairy nutrition, reproduction, and heat stress abatement. This is a remarkable dairy herd with a rolling herd average of over 30,000 pounds of milk per cow annually. On a daily basis, this is about 11.5 gallons per cow. This is one of the top 2 or 3 producing herds in the state of Kansas and ranks in the top 2 or 3 of university herds across the United States. This facility has been effectively utilized but has reached the end of its useful life. Concrete and steel have deteriorated to the point that the Kansas Board of Regents facility study conducted in 2023 found that many of the buildings have a D or F rating, indicating that replacement should be considered. We are trying to teach, do research, and inform the public about dairy production without modern facilities and technologies that would be standard on our industry's dairy farms. While the projected cost of the facility is over $43 million, it is an investment into the future of Kansas State University and the future of the Kansas dairy industry.
The current facility at Kansas State University is outdated. It can no longer even be repaired safely, and it doesn't allow for today's producers to look toward the university as a relevant and helpful place when they're trying to make decisions on what to implement in their farming operations. It's very, very difficult to hire people, especially managers. It's really important that we recognize that good people want to work in facilities that work well and where there is a commitment that that facility is going to be relevant going forward.
One of the things that's really holding us back now is that we're working in a facility that's nearly 50 years old. And every time that we bring people out there, we say, our facility is old, but we do a really good job. The reality of our facility is that we can't make milk in that facility for very much longer. There's only so much time that concrete and steel can endure the elements. What we're faced with is a situation in a few years without not just a renovation but a new facility. We may not have a dairy farm in the state of Kansas, which is one of the fastest growing dairy states, where there's been billions of dollars of investment in the dairy industry. We would not be servicing that industry at a point in time where we're seeing astronomical growth.
We've looked at just trying to renovate, and the problem is that a lot of the concrete, it's deteriorated to the point that really renovation is not possible. The other thing we've looked at is the cost of modification. Modifying a facility is hugely expensive. There's enough deferred maintenance there that trying to modify from a cost standpoint would not be justified.
We have dairies in Kansas that milk a few cows. We have dairies milking 100 to 400 head of cattle, and then we have those who are milking in the thousands. The commonality is each of them have to figure out what their economic opportunity is. And some may specialize in processing, some may specialize in genetics. Whatever they do, we need to make sure that we have an opportunity to ensure that they have access to the best information. Dairy farmers harvest every single day, and they're shipping year-round. And doing a feeding trial on farm where you may see a change in production or a change in milk components, that comes at a risk because that's the producer's paycheck. And so having a university dairy that can do those things for all of the producers is very, very beneficial.
One of the nice things is that we have the farm within 3 miles of campus. That makes it very easy for us to have those educational and research opportunities for those students that is not necessarily the case at all institutions. But having a new dairy really gives us a greater ability to go recruit students out of state on the West Coast and the upper Midwest, where we already have a few students. I think we could have so many more of those students and really build our dairy program. When we see students that come from out of state for an undergraduate education, they fall in love with Kansas and they stay. And so they turn into future employees, they turn into future community members, they turn into citizens of Kansas, and they help to build our rural communities. For K-State to be a part of that, I think is really exciting and shows us great opportunity for the role that we can have in building rural America, building rural Kansas for the betterment of our state.
What we have to realize is that as researchers, we have to have a place where we can experiment on a small scale before we try to roll something out to a large farm. And we did some very, very basic research trials at the K-State Dairy 25 years ago to determine how best to cool cows. We developed what we felt was the ideal system, and then we were able to take that to a farm in western Kansas. And that small research, being able to really work with things intensely and understand how to best cool the cows, that allowed us to make application on a large dairy. And that quickly spread not just to Kansas, but really all across the United States and now around the world. And now when we look at milk production records from the summers, it used to be we would see drops of 15, 20, 25 pounds of production per cow per day just because of heat stress. And you still see some drops, but not as drastic as what it used to be. And a lot of it is because of the fact that the farms implemented what we developed here. We developed the technique, we went to the industry advisors spread that. It's a really neat way that Kansas State has actually influenced dairy production really all around the world. And it's techniques that are still being used today.
As we look across the country, dairy farms are very specialized agricultural enterprises. They are challenging to run, they're management intensive, and because of those challenges, we've seen land-grant institutions across the country shutter their dairy farms. And that has rippling effects on the dairy industry within that state. As we look at Kansas as being a growing dairy state, and us building a modern facility that can do great things in research, extension, and teaching, we have the real ability to change our state and to change the profile of rural communities within our state. That's so exciting, and people will turn to us, they will look to us, and they're going to admire us for what we're doing. It allows us to recruit more students, great faculty members, and puts a spotlight for Kansas on the national map.
Kansas dairy farmers have such an opportunity today to capitalize on the investment that can be made in one research facility that benefits every single dairy operation and every grain and forage producer selling to those operations. And that is such a significant community impact. I don't know where we get greater economic impact in any initiative than what we would get in the investment in that facility.
When I joined the faculty here 26 years ago, one of the charges that was handed to us is go help the dairy industry and try to rebuild the cow numbers. We have, with a lot of work and with a lot of partnerships with communities and industry, that industry has been rebuilt. We pretty soon will have a record number of dairy cows here in this state. To do that and see that happen within 25 years has been huge. It's my personal feeling that the older generation should always leave something better for the younger generation. We've rebuilt the dairy industry, and the last thing we need to do is rebuild our dairy unit here. If I can leave my career here with a new dairy for Kansas State University to carry our current faculty as well as faculty that will be coming attracted to us because we have something like that, an excellent teaching facility for our students, that's it's the icing on the cake, you know?